The James Golden Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Well, Trump just bombed Venezuela for no reason. He just attacked an innocent country for no reason. This is how bad those files are. The wartime president just started World War III. You just did this to our country. You did this with your pig-headed ignorance.
I just want to talk to you, America, and I hope you have your coffee when I tell you this, but these are great news. All eyes on Venezuela. These are historical news. This is history in the making. I mean, my chest, it feels like it's going to explode with joy. Like, President Donald Trump and Maria Corina Machado just created an opportunity for us to begin working harder than ever, because that's what we have always been doing, but now we will be working in our country. But, you know, we also have worked so hard here in the United States to build so much things, and I just want to thank you, America. Thank you for giving us this opportunity to work. Yeah, come celebrate with us. We love everybody because you, America, has loved us so much.
Yes, my friends, both sides of the equation. One, pure, unexhilarated happiness. The other, pure TDS, bitterness, anger, hostility, and out-of-control emotional deflation. Welcome to the fastest hour in American media as we kick off another year, 2026. It's our first weekday show. We were here on Saturday. Welcome. And what a way to start off the year. I have been laughing myself silly this afternoon looking at some of the memes. I wish I could describe them to you accurately. You have to see them. One, of course, that took everyone's attention was there are many memes with Maduro and P. Diddy sharing a cell and having conversations about oil, as one might imagine. Those are among the more hilarious. Also, the AI videos that are coming out now of Donald Trump. One has him seated in apparently Venezuela in the seat that Maduro used to sit in. It's just hysterical. Democrats, of course, having a cow. Even those that agree with him can't agree with him. Take, for instance, Ana Navarro. It's almost 4 minutes. I'm not going to do the whole 4 minutes of Ana Navarro here, but you have others. The reaction around the world, big day at the UN. Oh, almost wish I was there. Not. At the UN, before the UN's most powerful body, both allies and adversaries blasted President Trump's intervention and him signaling possibly expanding military action to countries like Colombia and Mexico over drug trafficking accusations. Can I ask you a question? Kevin can I ask you a question? Come on, Kevin, wake up. Damn it, it's a new year. Just messing with it. Is there any allegation, are there unfounded allegations that Colombia and Mexico are heavy in the drug trade? Is it in doubt anywhere in the world?
Historically, no.
No. What's the big drug that comes in from Colombia?
Yeah. Cocaine.
What are the drugs that come in from Mexico?
Pot and cocaine.
And fentanyl, which makes its way over from China, and every other assorted kind of drug known to man.
It's like questioning if Japan was making electronics in the 80s and 90s.
Okay. That's like, right. So then you get this sort of reporting. They're worried about Trump possibly expanding military action to countries like Colombia and Mexico over drug trafficking accusations. It is what they do. This woman down in Mexico, Claudia Sheinbaum, Claudia she's on a roll. We categorically reject intervention in the internal affairs of other countries, Scheinbaum said at her daily news conference. The history of Latin America is clear and compelling. Intervention has never brought democracy, has never generated well-being or lasting stability. When has Mexico been stable? When has Mexico not been corrupt? When has Mexico been a bastion of democracy? What century was that? Because in our lifetimes, that Mexico does not exist and has not existed. Her comments came as Trump on Sunday threatened more military strikes on Venezuela and raised the possibility of intervention in Mexico as well as in Cuba. Oh, Congress people are upset too. Mondami couldn't wait. We had a brilliant show Saturday. Princess Diana hung out with us for an hour. John Catsimatidis was on with us for a half an hour. And talking about the situation as it was unfolding in Venezuela. Brilliant stuff. And then right after the show, I go and I look at the news, and there's Mondami. I called the president. You know, Donald Trump gave him his cell phone when he was in the White House acting like Trump's poodle. And Donald Trump gave him a cell phone number. So Mondami rushed out to tell everybody, I just called Donald Trump and I registered my opposition to him taking down Maduro. And I'm thinking to myself, he didn't tell us what Donald Trump told him after he lodged his complaint. I wonder if Donald just said something to Zori. Listen, Zori. Adults are working. I don't have time for this right now. Go play with your crayons. Go play with your Tinker toys. Do you want me to get you a new Lego set? So you have something to do. But you can't call me while adults are working. We're busy. Because it was, his statements were, and then there were protests in New York. I'm sure you've seen the video by now. Had signs. They must have a quick print protest warehouse somewhere where the signs for almost every protest imaginable are already printed, and they just send the protesters over to get the signs that needed for whatever protest it is in minutes. Quick protest sign delivery. Because they were no oil for war. Now that was left over from the 80s. That's even left over from the 70s. The left has been chanting the same thing for a decade. No war for oil. No war for oil. It's not new. And it wasn't a war anyway. It was an action, and a quick action at that. He's in, by the way, Maduro, as you may know, in court today, defiantly declaring that he was kidnapped. Apparently he's been watching the ICE raids, and he knows that that's a line that they all use. I've been kidnapped. Well, I was captured, he said in Spanish. I am innocent. I am not guilty. I am a decent man, the president of my country. Who's going to tell him you're not the president anymore? His successors already sending conciliatory messages to Donald Trump. And apparently he was, according to some reports also, a little taken aback by some of the actual proceedings. There was a Fox report that when the judge was telling him, his Miranda rights, making sure he understood his Miranda rights, and that he had the right to seek bail, to seek release on bail, he commented that he was unaware that those things existed. Well, he wouldn't. That's not the way they treat their prisoners. So we've got this unfolding. The UN said the Democrats are, of course, you find me a criminal, I'll find you Democrats defending him. You show me a terrorist, I'll find you Democrats defending him. You show me both, a criminal and a terrorist, and I'll show you twice as many Democrats defending him or her. And they're complaining. Cut 6. Representative Madeleine Dean. Listen to this complaint, which made me laugh when I actually heard it the first time.
States need to take over the Venezuelan oil industry.
Well, we don't need to. First of all, let me go back up. We don't need Venezuela's oil. We have plenty of oil in the United States. What we're not going to allow is for the oil industry in Venezuela to be controlled by adversaries of the United States. You have to understand, why does China need their oil? Why does Russia need their oil? Why does Iran need their oil? They're not even in this continent. This is the Western Hemisphere. This is where we live. And we're not going to allow the Western Hemisphere to be a base of operation for adversaries, competitors, and rivals of the United States.
Have specific oil companies?
We also want to see that oil and the proceeds from it. Hold on. We want to see the oil proceeds of that country benefit the people of Venezuela. Why have 8 million people left Venezuela? 8 million, the single largest mass migration probably in modern history, left Venezuela since 2014 because all the wealth of that country was stolen to the benefit of Maduro and his cronies in the regime, but not to the benefit of people of Venezuela. You know how destabilizing 8 million migrants is? The number one fear that Brazil has, that Colombia has, that all these countries in the region have about what's happening in Venezuela and our involvement is they're afraid of another mass migration event. That's what they fear. This is deeply destabilizing stuff. It's not going to continue to happen. They are not going to come from outside of our hemisphere, destabilize our region in our own backyard, and us have to pay the price for it. Not under President Trump.
Let's talk big picture.
Boom, that was on Meet the Press. I don't even see that one on the cue sheet. I know I put it in there, but it's still, anyway, we had a little mix-up, but that was still a good answer. And that actually leads in, if we can find the Madeleine Dean, which we'll get to when we get back from our break, because Democrats, everybody from Chuck U. Schumer to this New York, I know you guys are progressive. I know but really, Dan Goldman, is this the best you can do for a congressman? He's out whining about impeachment. Impeachable action. Oh, no, they're not. Grow up, child. Read the War Powers Act. Read the resolution. Read the fact that there was an indictment on this guy. Anyway, we have to take a break. I don't want to.
The James Golding Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. James Golding Show, entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
I want to stay with this, but folks, we got to cover some other ground. This New York, you wait till you hear this tenant czar or tenant person that they've got in New York now. And, of course, Timmy bowed out. Tough Timmy. Tough toenails, Timmy. Tough Timmy took a hike today, decided he's not going to continue his run for 3-time governor. Amy Klobuchar is seriously considered stepping in that race now. And I have to tell you, as much as I would like to see Republicans pick up this seat, this governor's seat in Minnesota, especially after all the scandal, Klobuchar might be tough to beat if she decides to throw her mouth into the ring. So, you've got that. And then you've got Mark Kelly. Pete Hegseth, yes to Pete Hegseth. He moved on the seditionist today. We'll be back.
The James Golding Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The James Golding Show, entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
also have some breaking news coming into the Situation Room right now. Senator Mark Kelly will have his military retirement pay cut by the Pentagon. The Defense Secretary, Pete Hegseth, made the announcement on social media just a little while ago. Kelly is a retired U.S. Navy captain. He's being punished for taking part in a video where he and other Democratic lawmakers told U.S. service members that it was their duty to refuse illegal orders. Hegseth also added in his post, he issued, and I'm quoting now, a formal letter of censure which outlines the totality of Captain Kelly's reckless misconduct. That's Hegseth's words. Pamela.
All right.
So you heard about this Kelly thing. Kelly is firing back. He says the move by Hegseth is outrageous. It's wrong. Nothing more un-American than that. He calls Hegseth the most unqualified sec def in our country's history. By the way, Secretary of War now. And he says he thinks he can intimidate me with a censure or threats to demote me or prosecute me. He still doesn't get it. I will fight this with everything I've got, not just for myself, but to send a message back that Hegseth and Trump don't get to decide what Americans in this country get to say. Well, he gets to decide what some of you military folks can say and can't say. That's part of the Uniform Code of Justice, my friend. And yes, he does get a say. And by the way, Mr. Most Unqualified Secretary of Defense, as you call it, Secretary of War, just led the military side of one of the most brilliant military operations in American history. How does that make him unqualified? So there's that. Now, we have this Congresswoman, Madeleine Dean, who we said before, this is part of the complaint coming in from Democrats. Here she is. That would be cut 19, and Ms. Madeleine Dean. Well, we're still searching for Madeleine. Madeleine's giving us a problem today. So, we got Madeleine, and here she is.
What a shame that this president and the people who surround him are so inept that they didn't come to Congress. We have deep experience in both the House and the Senate with foreign affairs, with obviously military affairs, with obviously intelligence. And this administration just, in a cowboy way, went it alone with no plan for the future.
You believe the hubris of these? Why, they didn't come to Congress. We have deep experience in military, in intelligence. No, you don't. You have deep experience at doing nothing, which is why Maduro was still in office. Let's find Chuck U. Schumer. Now, this is Chuck U. Schumer then and Chuck U. Schumer now. The first is then in 2020. This was Chuck on the floor, and then we'll pick it up with his comments this weekend. Cut for Chuck U. Schumer.
He brags about all these things he wants to do or is doing, but his actions belie his words. Maybe the best metaphor was his claim to bring democracy to Venezuela. There was a big policy there. It flopped. If the policy was working, Juan Guaido wouldn't be in the balcony here. He'd be in Venezuela. He'd be sitting in the president's palace, or at least waging a fight to win. He's here. And the president brags about his Venezuela policy? Give us a break. He hasn't brought an end to the Maduro regime. The Maduro regime is more powerful today and more entrenched today than it was when the president began.
So what can the Congress do about it is the next question.
Well, the next question is very simple. Now. And that is that we have the War Powers Act. That's a privilege resolution, which means the Republicans can't block it. Tim Kaine and I and Rand Paul are sponsors of it. It's going to come to the floor this week. And if it is voted for, if it's voted positively in both houses, then the president can't do another thing in Venezuela without the okay of Congress. We have to pass it.
And you're President Trump say that he intends for the United States to run Venezuela. It was reckless. It was dangerous. And looking at the president's demeanor, he didn't even seem to be aware of how dangerous and reckless it is. Let me be clear. Maduro is an illegitimate dictator, but launching military action without congressional authorization, without a credible plan for what comes next, is reckless. Now,
okay, he just got through saying that they're going to do the War Powers Act so Trump can't act anymore. He's acknowledging that Trump had the power to do this, and he does, and we know that, except for the left doesn't know that. But this idea, on one hand, Trump didn't get rid of Maduro. He's there. He didn't count. He's a flop. Then when he gets rid of Maduro, we have to stop him from doing anything else. These Democrats are just blithering hypocrites. We already know that. There's nothing new with them being hypocritical. And we could go on and on with Venezuela, but there are other things in the news that I want to get to today. Timmy Walsh, well, there's a lot to say about Timmy Walsh. Let's just run through some of the Timmy Walsh. We won't use the long one. Let's use cut 10. Let's start out with Timmy's sad, tough Timmy toenails, sad goodbye to the race for his third term as governor.
Which brings me to this. 2026 is an election year. Election years have a way of ramping up the politics at a time when we simply can't afford more of that in Minnesota. In September, I announced that I would seek a historic third term as Minnesota's governor, and I have every confidence that if I gave it my all, we would win the race. But as I reflect on this moment with my family and my team over the holidays, I came to the conclusion that I can't give a political campaign my all. Every minute that I spend defending my own political interest would be a minute I can't spend defending the people of Minnesota against the criminals who prey on our generosity and the cynics who want to prey on our differences. So I've decided to step out of this race, and I'll let others worry about the election while I focus on the work that's in front of me for the next year.
Yeah, like staying out of jail. Cut 12. Who's to blame for all of this? Well, who's to blame for tough Timmy toenails dropping out of the race? Well, you know who.
I don't want to mince words here. Donald Trump and his allies in Washington and in St. Paul and online want to make our state a colder, meaner place. They want to poison our people against each other by attacking our neighbors. And ultimately, they want to take away much of what makes Minnesota the best place in the country to raise a family. They've already begun trying to withhold funds that were meant to help families afford child care. And they have no intention of stopping there. Make no mistake, we should be concerned about fraud in our state government. We cannot effectively deliver programs and services if we can't earn the public's trust.
Now, Timmy was going to take questions. He held a big conference, got the press all there, but he decided, I guess, something was wrong. He was off day. Tough Timmy toenails was maybe just sad about having to drop off. And the way that his press conference, you could hear the press corps a little bit upset out there in Minnesota. Cut 14. And this is how tough Timmy toenails decided to end the press conference where he called it a day.
I'm proud of the way we treat our neighbors. I'm proud of the way that we welcome people to this state. I'm proud of the way that we innovate. And I'm proud of the way that we are optimists for the future. No one's taking this away from us. Not the fraudsters. Certainly not this president. Not on my watch. Tomorrow, I'll be back with you. I'll give you an update on America's best paid family medical leave program that is now a week into it. And at that time, I'll take all your questions. Thank you all.
Thank you, Press. I'll be back tomorrow. That's more tomorrow. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Wow. What? What? He's leaving.
You said you were going to take questions. Why didn't you?
So you're going to take questions. Why didn't you take our questions? Tough Timmy toenails. I don't like this. Anyway, it goes on for another minute of the press grumbling. Who wants to hear that? They grumble all the time anyway. Tough Timmy. Too bad, tough Timmy toenails. Anyway, moving on. Folks, those of you that live in New York now and that own real estate in New York especially, if you own real estate in New York City, boy, you are going to have a fun few years. New York City has a tenant advocate director. Her name is Sia, C-E-A, Sia Weaver. We have two quotes from Sia Weaver. Cut 17 and cut 18. Let's play them in order, and then we shall discuss very briefly New York's tenant advocate and what the new policies are according, well, what they may be given what the new tenant advocate director, Sia Weaver, has to say. We
should really look to what Brandon Johnson and as well as the Chicago Teachers Union is doing to really use the schools and the city as sites of resistance against a federal incursion. If you're comfortable in your coalition, you're not winning power. If ICE and the National Guard are coming to New York City, ICE is already here. If the National Guard is coming on January 1st, which we know they are, we really have to use our tenant associations and our parent-teacher associations and our public schools as like networks of defense in support of Sharon's agenda and in support of our neighbors.
I think the reality is that for centuries we've really treated property as an individualized good and not a collective good, and we are going to transitioning to treating it as a collective good and towards a model of shared equity will require that we think about it differently. And it will mean that families, especially white families, but some POC families who are homeowners as well, are going to have a different relationship to property than the one that we currently have.
Did you catch that? First of all, she went on about the squirrels. Why do liberals talk like that? The squirrels. We're going to use the squirrels to go against ICE, the squirrels. But then, I think we need to, so you white families, Kevin, if you ever think that she's talking about you. She especially you. She didn't say male, but you know right after that, you white family, especially headed by a white male, you have been viewing property in a certain way. What does that mean? That means you think, I have money, I'll buy some property, and it's mine. I own the property. And what she's saying is, especially you white people, you are going to have to think about your property very differently because it is not an individual thing. You, as an individual, don't have the right to property. It is a collective, and there's going to be collective equity, which means if you, especially white people, if you white people buy property, and let's say you put your white sweat equity in your white-owned property, and you think that you deserve the white home equity and the white home property with your white sweat equity, you are wrong. That equity has to be shared with the broader community, and we must assume that part of that broader community means the non-white broader community. Maybe I'm extrapolating too much on what she's saying. But before we go to a break, let's listen to that carefully one more time to see if I'm wrong about where this is potentially going in New York. Here is the tenant advocate, Sia Weaver.
I think the reality is that for centuries we've really treated property as an individualized good and not a collective good. And we are going to transitioning to treating it as a collective good and towards a model of shared equity will require that we think about it differently. And it will mean that families, especially white families, but some POC families who are homeowners as well, are going to have a different relationship to property than the one that we currently have.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you happen to be a white property owner in New York, especially a white property owner in New York, but maybe not just, I would like to remind you there are other places to live across these great United States than New York City. If you intend on staying, I suggest you might want to start doing what the left does in terms of organizing for a massive lawsuit against these people that are clearly ignoring the Constitution of the United States and the individual freedoms that the ancestors of all of us in the United States worked so hard to pass along to us. It is under threat from these people. In Seattle, big story, Daily Mail today, the mayor there has already told police to stop enforcing drug on the street laws. And the police are having a cow over it, like the police union. Also, in this whole Mexican thing, I've been getting some texts from a very well-informed source, and just said to me, you know, one thing that people need to consider is the impact that all of this stopping this drug trade is having on the international banking system. Billions upon billions of dollars laundered flow through. And what Donald Trump is doing impacts the flow of money through international banking systems. And he pointed out one bank in 2012 that had to pay an almost $2 billion fine for laundering drug money. There are deep implications to what is happening today. We got to take a break. James Golden, Snerdley. Fastest hour in American media continues. Don't go away.
The James Golden Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The James Golden Show. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
And, of course, we never get to all the stories. There's tomorrow, God willing. May God bless and protect each and every single one of you, your families, your loved ones. Love and gratitude for your being here with me, allowing me to be with you. God willing, we are back tomorrow. Until then, I bid you adieu.
Thanks for listening to The James Golden Show. You can hear The James Golden Show Saturday mornings at 7. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?